Hey everyone, we're so excited to be here tonight. We have another open Q&A, all questions about Portugal and how we can get going. Great to see everyone here. Hello from Alcobaça. So I'm Colleen with Portugal The Place, and we're here in our office headquarters in Alcobaça, right on the Silver Coast. So I see we've got folks here talking about Silver Coast versus the Algarve. But hey, hello from New York. I've got lots of people saying hello here. Great to see you from all over the US. We're going to give people a couple of minutes to get logged in, and then we'll get started. If you haven't been with us before, feel free to put your questions in the comments, and we will get to as many of them as possible. We're really excited to talk about everything to do with living in Portugal, pros and cons, the things you need to know and to be prepared for. So we've had great sessions. We're looking forward to having another one, and so excited to see everyone from Colorado to South Carolina, New York City, all the way across the United States and some other areas as well. Also, welcome to our current and living here clients that are here in Portugal. I see we've got some folks in Faro down in the Algarve, and I saw a couple other people that were here in Cascais and that are over in also up in Porto. So welcome to you as well. Love to have you here, and thanks for joining us. We are just getting close to the time, so we've got a couple more minutes. It starts right at the top of the hour at 6 o'clock. Hello. Hi, Lillian. Hello. It's great to have you all here. It's gorgeous here in Portugal today. It's a little windy on our neck of the woods here on the Silver Coast, at least, but warm and lovely. And it's been great to see everyone out and about enjoying summer in Portugal. Before we get started, today I was out scouting with clients across the Silver Coast. And the one thing that I can say that was that I always love about this time of year is just watching how enthusiastic everyone is about enjoying the sun and being at the beach and seeing the families out enjoying time together at the gelateria or at the pasteleria, wherever they're finding themselves gathering together. It's just so much happiness and so much just really, it's infectious when you get to be around people that are enjoying such a beautiful place. So it's a great time here in Portugal. Summer is upon us for sure. So again, welcome to everyone that's just signing on. It's great to see you here. Welcome from Maryland. It looks like we have people that are out and about all over the US. Looks like we've got some Northwest folks as well. We're going to get started here in just a couple of minutes, but right now we are just waiting as people get logged in. If you have any questions today, please feel free to put them in the comments. We will be boosting them up, and I'll be answering as many as we can get to in the hour. Also, Fiona is here working on the backside of the process, so she's going through the questions as well. So if you don't have the opportunities to stay for the whole webinar, the fact that you've signed up will give you the chance to have it emailed out. She'll be sending it out after we are wrapped up. So we will have the recording for this as well. And so folks are saying hello to you. So yeah, Fiona's right here like, hey. So it's great. Though I am jealous. She had a weekend at the beach and is beautiful and tan and all relaxed looking. So yeah, I just turn into a tomato when I go out to the beach. So I don't get that. I don't get that glow. So looks like we have folks from Indiana. Welcome. Great to see you. Thank you so much for being here. And we are just about ready to go. It's almost 6 o'clock, and then we'll get started. So as soon as we kick off, again, just remember, let's get those questions going, and we will answer as many as we have time to get to. So the first question that we have here from Diane is Silver Coast versus the Algarve. Well, that is a loaded question, and I bet you there are a lot of people with a lot of different opinions on that. They really aren't really as comparable as you would think. They're completely different lifestyles. And we have folks that are just thriving and loving the Silver Coast, and they love being in the Algarve. The one thing I can tell you is financially, the Silver Coast is absolutely still more of a financially, it's a lower cost of living and entry, but either rental or purchase. So your cost of living on the Silver Coast and the number of people, just strictly those two things, it's calmer. There isn't the intensity of people that the Algarve gets, and the prices are still more reasonable on the Silver Coast. The Algarve definitely runs as one of the more expensive areas in Portugal. When it comes to lifestyle, if you're a swimmer in the ocean, the Algarve is going to give you more opportunity, longer time of the year. It's drier in the Algarve. It has much less rain, more sunny days than anywhere else in Portugal. But remember, it's still the Atlantic in the Algarve. So the water in the wintertime is still pretty chilly compared to what you might think of like the Mediterranean or the Caribbean. The Silver Coast is going to be, it definitely has more rain. You're going to have more seasons up on the Silver Coast, and the climate's very different. It's not as dry. You've got the green rolling hills on the Silver Coast with the vineyards and the orchards. In the Algarve, it may remind you more of parts of Southern California with the drier hillsides with more of the oak and the orange groves. So it's a personal choice, but if you are looking to strictly decide via budget or crowds, the Silver Coast is definitely going to have a lower entry point for both. If you're looking for sunshine and the more days of the year that are sunny and to have more opportunity to get out on the beach more time of the year round, and you want to have perhaps more English speaking options than you would have on the Silver Coast, the Algarve may be for you. But that's something we can explore with you as well and go into deeper conversations, because we love to get people out coming to Portugal and comparing regions to see what fits for them. All right. And Nathan, hey, Nathan, how did driver license work? I've heard conflicting things. When do we have to apply? So it's after your residency card. So not the first appointment in the United States, the second appointment after you've had your appointment with IMA in Portugal. Then you have 1 year from that date to apply for your Portuguese driver's license. You will need to get your records. You can order them online, your driver's records, and those will need to be apostilled. And then from there, it can take a while to receive your driver's license back. So that is a process that you need to go through, but it isn't the first thing you need to do. You can drive on your American license in Portugal legally. You can buy a car, you can get insurance with that license, and then you have a year to exchange it from when you get your residency card, not the first appointment in the United States. And Heather's asking, in regards to housewares, do you have any recommendations on items to bring? Wondering if it's better to acquire items once there. You know, that is a really great question. And the standard thing to talk about is more of what not to bring, because everyone has personal items, things that are really important to them. And you certainly want to bring with you what makes you happy and what works for your lifestyle. There's no right or wrong way to do it. Some people bring their whole household over, other people bring a couple suitcases. But there's some things you shouldn't consider bringing just because of they don't work here. So electronics, unless they have a universal source, you're not going to want to go through the process of bringing them here. Some people recommend trying to bring one and then use a converter, but over time, those are going to wear down the motors or the internal parts of that electronic, and it will end up, it can possibly be damaged. So we really do recommend when it comes to electronics, anything that's not universal, to just replace when you get here. Another thing is anything that is to do with your beds. That's a big conversation. So a lot of people want to bring their mattress and like their bed frames, but buying sheets in Europe is very different. They don't use the double queen king system. They use centimeters. So you could have a bed that's 150 by 180 or 160 by 200. So the sheets are completely different. So that's a consideration. Like bringing your mattress and trying to fit it on a bed frame in Europe can be really challenging. So that's something that if you're not really tied to your bed, then it's much easier to just get here. One thing I recommend that you definitely bring with you are your measuring cups and measuring spoons and things that have the imperial system on them. Because if you want to make recipes for things that you love to make in the States, you're going to want to have those because they're difficult to find here, and you're going to be learning to convert and everything when you first get here. So bringing those with you, tucking those in with you in whatever way you come to Portugal, that's a really great thing to have. And then the other thing, don't bring a lot of your baking sheets and like lasagna pans and things like that, because the oven sizes and dimensions are different here. And in a lot of cases, they don't fit. I made that mistake and brought a whole bunch of stuff with me that didn't fit in any of the oven pieces that we had when we first moved here. So Margaret's asking, piggybacking on Heather's question, when do new expats purchase or order household goods, especially if they only move with clothes? Think shampoo, toilet paper, dish soap, dog food. Absolutely. So if you work with Portugal The Place, one of the services we offer is once you've had your lease or you've purchased a property, in that time between the time you do that and the time you physically move here, we receive orders and we have a whole property, a purchase wish list of different links that you can buy and have things shipped in Portugal. And then we actually do grocery shopping for you right before you arrive. We do all the toilet paper, dish soap, everything. So you have snacks and water and all the things you'd like to have in your place right before you get there so that you can come in, drop your bags, and be ready to go. So with us, that's a service we include because people ask us a lot, like we want to be set up. We want to come in and stay. If you're on your own, you're going to need to do that in most cases once you've arrived because there wouldn't be anyone at your address to receive those orders. So once you arrive, we suggest if you're doing it on your own, you may want to have a couple nights of an Airbnb or something so you can stock your property, go over, do the grocery shopping after you've had a chance to rest from the travel and all of those things. So Amanda's asking, they have the same question as Heather, currently packing and we keep thinking we have this stuff already. Why would we get rid of it only to buy it again? All the way to, I don't want to pack up and ship all of this stuff. Why don't we just buy new? This is a constant question. I brought so many things that were the wrong thing. I packed, I don't know what I was thinking. I must have just gone into like stress mode when I packed. I had bins and bins of like winter clothing, ski level, parkas, boots. I don't know what I was thinking. Those things have been long donated because I haven't needed them at all since I've lived in Portugal. I brought office supplies and then didn't even think about the fact that the paper that I brought was 8.5 by 11 and everything in Portugal is A4. So it didn't even work in any of the printers and things here. So it's kind of weird. Like we get attached to things and we think we have like a scarcity complex, like we're not going to be able to get it. And it's not the case. What I would recommend is, unless it is something that is a personal, important, sentimental heirloom, art, books, things like that, that you've collected, you love, and you want to bring with you, all the rest of the stuff is so easy to replace here. So it doesn't really save you money to ship it because you can just replace it here. The daily household goods, the things like that, you can really make it easy for yourself and just start fresh with those things here in a way that makes sense. But I made a mistake. I listened to the chatter online. I got really into the idea of minimalistic life and got rid of hundreds of books, quite literally, art and collectibles that we brought from our travels around the world. And I really regret that. I really wish that I would have kept those things and not brought bins of office supplies and clothing. It didn't make sense. What is the best way to transport your Labrador? So I'm assuming your Labrador is a full-size lab. And so at this point, your options, you really have two options. You can have them go in the hold, which is a specially set aside section of the airplanes for animals. It's pressurized, it has heat and cooling, and it has, light. It's not the luggage part of the plane. And in many cases, the flight attendants can go and check on the animals from the inside of the plane to this hold. That is your option for a large dog. You would need to go through the process of having them vet checked, microchipped, rabies certificate, getting the certification 10 days before you travel, coordinating the ticket, getting them on that flight, making sure that you've got that all coordinated, and then going through the vet check on the other end in Portugal. There's a couple things to note when you're traveling with an animal this way. The airlines will not take the animal onto the plane, no matter if you have the plane ticket or not, if the temperature is over 82 degrees on the tarmac. So for a lot of people traveling at different times of the year from different parts of the country, this is a vitally important part of planning the ticket. You want to look at night flights. You want to look at connection flights. You want to think about what time of year you're going, because that can really affect your flight trips and travel. They will not take animals that could be exposed to that kind of heat for a while. So you have that option to move them on on one of the carriers in the hold. The other option you have there are organized private charters where you can sign up and be part of a private charter. They're costly. It's not inexpensive, but in that case, you can go through the whole process with your vet information and then just bring them right on the plane with you and have them get off the plane with you on the other side. And it is really great for people with dogs that have anxiety or other issues. But for Labrador, you really only have private or the hold for the animal. So Margaret, so don't bring your bed sheets and bedding. They won't fit in a bed in a furnished apartment. That's correct. That's correct. A furnished apartment, the bed is going to be different dimensions, and your sheets and blankets won't be the same size. Hey, Wendy, hi. The beds were very, very firm when we visited. Are softer mattresses readily available? It is so true. I don't know. All over Europe, they seem to like a much firmer bed than we're used to. I think we bought 3 mattresses since we've been in Portugal because we keep trying to find that. We finally found that perfect balance. But yes, there are different mattress kind of weights and softness levels. There's different options, but it does take trying them. Again, we tried a couple of times before we got it right. And typically the mattresses are much firmer than what we're used to. All right. Hey, Carla. We've applied for the D7 visa with my spouse and son, applying for family reunification visas. There are a lot of conflicting reports about changes to family reunification visas. Will we be affected because of our timing? The law has not been passed. So right now, any changes to family reunification is still up for the president to sign. He has 20 days to sign it, and he still hasn't signed that. And even then, they are looking at when people apply. So not knowing when you had your appointment, if your appointment was before June, I believe it was June 30th or June 19th, I have to look back at that, then you would not be affected at all. There's a gray area for people in the middle right now that they haven't answered, but your son, if your son is a minor, then your son would not be affected by it. It would be the spouse that we would have to consider. So we don't have an answer yet. It hasn't passed yet, and they haven't given us all the details. So right now, it is a big question mark. So Susan, hey Susan, what is included in a furnished versus unfurnished rental? So that is a variable that depends on the way it's advertised, but typically a furnished apartment has 2 versions of furnished. There's furnished like an Airbnb where it comes with towels and dishes and everything. And then there's furnished with just the furniture, where it is the furniture, but nothing in the cupboards, nothing of the housewares. And they don't always make that clear when they first list the listing. So a listing could say furnished, and it could literally just have a couch, a table, and a bed, or it could be everything in the cupboards. So really an unfurnished would mean there's nothing in the property at all. And a furnished could be anywhere from basic things all the way up to every item in the house ready to go. Hi, Jennifer. Are there any Mountain View expat towns? Not interested in coastal towns? Absolutely. Portugal has some stunning Mountain View towns. Up in the north, for example, Amarante and that area going east of Porto towards the Douro has absolutely stunning mountain views. It's one of the most beautiful cities, I think, in Portugal. Amarante is incredible. You can get other Mountain View communities running through the center of the country, everything from Penacova, which is around the Coimbra area. You can get mountain views in the Tomar region going east, even Fatima, just going inland a little bit on the Silver Coast. You can get beautiful mountain views around Leiria, Fatima, these areas. Port de Mas is the gateway to the national park. It's absolutely stunning. And so you have a lot of choices for communities that have thriving international expat meetups and events and are still feeling like you've got a good variety of things to do. Rosita, hello. If we do have some treasured breakable things, is it better to ship or try to carry them in checked bags? If you ship, they will insure it and they will help you pack it in most cases, unless you go with the least expensive version, which is you pack, we ship. But if you go with any of the moving companies, one of the things they do is they expertly pack it. And then if they pack it, they will insure it for shipping. So if it's something very treasured, something very difficult to replace, I would really recommend going with an expert to take care of it. If it's something that you feel that you can handle tucked inside of a suitcase with everything wrapped around it, then a lot of folks do that. But I would recommend when you're moving, no matter if you ship a whole bunch of things or not, tuck a couple things in your suitcase that are familiar to put on your bedside table. A couple of tea towels for your kitchen, for having all kinds of different, things that are going to give you a sense of home when you arrive, because it's a big change and you want to have something familiar. So look at your bedside table right now. What are the things on that table that are familiar? Is it a candle? Is it something you hold your glasses in? Do you have a couple tea towels you love to have in the kitchen? Bring a couple things like that in your suitcase, no matter if you're shipping or not, and it'll help make home feel a little more cozy when you arrive. Hello from Chattanooga. I haven't given up on my plan to move. That's great to know, Carol. We're here when you're ready. And Margaret's asking, does one have to have a flight reservation to Portugal before applying for a D7 visa? So this is another area that gets a little confusing because they recommend, some of the consulates want a ticket. It can be a refundable ticket. It can be a changeable ticket, but they want a ticket that shows that you are scheduled to fly to Portugal, and they will look for that to match the date that you're saying that you want to be in Portugal. Others are not requiring it. So it depends on where you apply and which consulate or service provider you're going to go through, VFS, or if you're going through e-visa, for example. But it doesn't hurt to have one that's refundable and changeable. A one-way ticket, it's not a round trip required for the date that you're anticipating that you want to travel. And Jacob is asking, interested in moving my family to Faro. We hear a lot about Lagos, Tavira, and other cities in the Algarve, but Faro seems to be overlooked. Is there something we don't know and should know about Faro? It's the hub of the Algarve, but no one seems to stay there. What am I missing? That's a great question. Faro is it's a city. So that's the first thing. A lot of people that are moving to the Algarve are looking for a little bit more of a resort feel, a little more of a beach vibe. Faro is not that. Faro is an international city. It has an airport. It's where the hub of business and finance are down in the Algarve. So it has a different feeling than maybe Lagos or Tavira, which is more laid back, and it has, either the beaches or the river. It's definitely the center of commerce. Another thing about Faro is it's lagged behind the Algarve as far as its kind of being renovated or being brought up to date. But in the last couple of years, they've done so much to bring the center back. They've done all kinds of refurbishment, the walkway along the harbor and with the restaurants and the fort. It's absolutely fantastic. But Faro is a city and it has that vibe. It feels maybe a little bit grittier than you're going to feel when you're in Lagos or Tavira and these places that are very, very geared at more of a tourism sector. So they have a different feeling than when you're in the commerce section of the Algarve. But it's a great option for families. We have a lot of clients that are loving living in Faro. So it's certainly something I wouldn't skip over. You just want to be prepared for the fact that it's going to have a different feeling from the resort areas. So let's see. So this question, sorry, it came in from Fiona, but I was like, wait, this came from Instagram. What is the most reasonable area of the city to live in, or what small town is best rent-wise? So this is a question from Instagram Live, and I'm not sure which city we're referring to here or small town. There's so many different options, and it's really hard for me to tell you which one is the best rent-wise because it really depends on your lifestyle. If you are a solo younger person that's looking for like a digital nomad lifestyle, you would have some really great options still. Porto is a more affordable option than Lisbon, for example. You can get that same city feeling, but it's going to be much more affordable. If you're a retired couple and you're on a fixed income and you want to have a relaxed vibe and a lifestyle, there are some fantastic choices south of Porto and around Ovar, for example. The Silver Coast around São Martinho do Porto, they still have some really great deals. So it really, really does depend on what you need in your lifestyle. And what is the criteria for making this transition? I'm a college professor and my partner is an instructional designer and teacher. So if you want to move to Portugal, some of the very first things you need to know is you will need a D visa. You will need one of the visas that will allow you to live in Portugal as a resident. And when you live in Portugal as a resident, you will receive the benefits of living in Portugal. You will have access to the health system. You'll have access to, you'll be all the rights and courtesies that are extended to a citizen except voting, you will have. You will be a resident in Portugal. To do that, there are two main visas. This is a whole conversation we would be happy to dig into with you, but the two main visas are a D7, which is a passive income visa, or a D8, which is a digital nomad visa. The D7 entry is you need to have, both visas need a clean background check. Both visas require that you have 1 year for one person applying. So I'm just doing this on a solo right now. 1 year's worth of income for minimum wage in Portugal. Minimum wage in Portugal right now is about 883 euros. And so you would need to have equivalent to that minimum in a Portuguese bank account, which would need to be open before the visa appointment for 1 year. And then you need to show for the passive income visa that you have every month, you have equivalent to that 883 euro amount coming in through a passive means. It can be retirement, it can be a pension, it can be rental income, but it has to be a passive form of income. The D8 has, you can work, you can be using your contract or be a freelancer if you can work remotely. You work for the company outside of Portugal and you show that you make at least 3,200 euros a month. So that's a very high level kind of cover of what you need to have. You have your background check that shows you have a clean background check. You have these basic income requirements, and that's what you need to start the transition. There are other visas as well, especially for folks that are teachers and professors. There may be some additional options for you. Happy to jump on a call and dive into those details that would be specific to you. Amanda's asking, what trends are you seeing in apartment rentals regarding furnished versus unfurnished? Can you repeat what you said earlier for those that are working with you? How might we furnish at least a bed and a couch, an apartment before we arrive if we rent an unfurnished apartment? All right, so there's not really a trend. It's more about where you're looking. We tend to find more furnished rentals in the large urban areas. So that does seem to be a little bit easier to find a fully furnished rental in the larger urban areas like Lisbon or Porto. Sometimes it'll say furnished, but it'll just have the bare minimum, and then you will have to bring the household goods in. But when you work with Portugal The Place, one of the services we will offer is we will assist you. We can provide the links that you'll need to order the items that you need to prepare your home before you arrive. We will then provide you with a phone number that you give when you purchase it as the delivery phone number, which is us. And then we coordinate receiving the delivery. We have your keys. We go over, we get those items into your property. And then right before you arrive, we can send you a spreadsheet with all the different items to remind you if you want to have them purchased for you. We'll go out and grocery shop, and then you just cash back us the receipts. So this is something that can be done before you arrive. What we like to suggest if you rent an unfurnished property is you want to get a place to sit, a place to sleep, and a place to eat. So don't try to furnish everything out before you arrive, but you need those three basic things. And so a lot of folks will order a mattress. They don't order the bed frame until they get here, but they make sure the mattress is on the floor. They order maybe outdoor furniture because there's a balcony and they use it inside as their table until they buy something when they get here, and maybe a chair or two. And then we will get those delivered to your place. And then once you arrive, you can have the fun of going out and getting the rest of the furnishings. But it's kind of like camping when you arrive, that place to sit, place to sleep, and a place to eat. Hey, Jill. So 2.5 years in, and we're still waiting for our IMA appointment. Wow. We want to move to Portugal in September, but keep getting conflicting information about how long we can live in Portugal while still waiting. I think I might be a little confused, Jill. You're still in Portugal, but you want to move to Portugal in September? I'm not quite sure if I understand. Can you maybe send another comment in, and then I can circle back around to that? Because if you're already in Portugal, you're not here illegally if you're waiting for your scheduled IMA appointment, and you can live in Portugal as long as you need to wait for that. If you've already had your VFS appointment, you've come here through the legal process and you're just waiting for the IMA appointment, then you can stay until you have that IMA appointment. Okay, if you're in Texas and you haven't moved yet, then you have 120 days to move to Portugal after you get your VFS appointment. And then when you move here, you have your IMA appointment. So if you haven't moved and registered your address in Portugal, that could be affecting getting the IMA appointment. This may be a conversation we need to have offline because I'm sure I'm missing something in the conversation, but again, happy to have a conversation to try to sort that out. Yeah, we're not quite sure. Let's maybe take that offline if you'd like. I'd be happy to have a conversation with you if you'd like to schedule a time to chat about that. Do you offer immigration services? We have a partner that does the immigration service. So I will help people walk through the DIY process, but I'm not a lawyer. If it looks at any point like a lawyer needs to be involved, if there's a gray area in an application, for example, people will sometimes come to me and say they have a problem with their background check. I will immediately refer that to a lawyer for them to review because they're going to have the depth of experience. But if it's support as you walk through the application, making sure you have everything in a timely manner and double checking all of the paperwork, we absolutely provide that support. And then we have partners that are attorneys. How expensive is it to ship things from here, like art and photos? Well, it can depend on a lot of variables, but for example, we see a lot of folks that are moving about maybe 20 to 40 boxes. And this is art that's been boxed and, collectibles and household goods and things like that. And the average quote that they're getting from the East Coast, so I'm just going to use one area. So like the New York, New Jersey, that kind of part of the East Coast, they're running around 5,000 or 6,000, depending on the weight. So it depends on the weight and the volume of what you're actually shipping. So it just really depends on a lot of variables, what part of the country you're from, how much land transportation is required, and how much goes over the ocean. So Stephen's asking, what is the best area to live that doesn't get really hot and gets rain? Well, the great thing is Portugal has a couple of regions that are like that. The Silver Coast, where I'm at in Alcobaça, is about an hour north of Lisboa, and we get a lot of sunshine. We get about 300 days of sunshine a year. It's great, but you still have plenty of rainy days as well, and it's very mild climate. It is not, today was a warm day, and I believe it was 81 degrees, and it felt very warm here. For the summer, that's pretty warm temperature, and it's mild in the winter. The farther north you go up the country, when you go north of Porto, for example, you will also get very mild climate, but you will get more rain. You'll probably be sitting around 250 to 275 days of sunshine a year. So basically going about an hour north of Lisbon on staying on the coastline and going all the way up the country, you'll just get a little more rain the farther north that you go. Hey, Cindy, hi. Is it safe to ship our household items once we have our VFS appointment but not receive the D7 visa yet? You're actually going to need to get a bill of lading. So you can't ship it until you have the paperwork that shows that you have the ability to move to Portugal. So you have to have proof that you've been given proof that you can move. And that's that first travel permit that you get once you're approved after your VFS appointment. So you'll need to wait until that comes to show the shipping company that you can ship your goods, because if you don't have that, you could be subject to taxes or the customs duty because they don't realize that you're moving. When you move, one of the things you receive is a one-time opportunity to ship goods without taxes on them. So it's very important that they have proof that you're moving to Portugal. Hey, Jennifer, will there be a transcript of this presentation? Yes. And I'm sorry, I'm talking too fast. I totally get it. I know this sometimes feels like fire hosing information, but absolutely, we'll get this recording out to everyone, and happy to jump on a call if you need to go over anything specific as well. So Margaret, if I've settled on Braga and done a little research on its neighborhoods, how detailed does your team go onto helping find a rental apartment that includes a couple of must-haves? Do you have a checklist of wants, needs that you go by based on client input? And can you help coordinate things, timing of the lease, so if I'm waiting on my D7 visa to be approved, I don't have to pay over 3 months of rent on an empty apartment. Okay, so a couple things. First, you will have to pay for an empty apartment while you're waiting because the lease has to be a legal and licensed lease for the D7. You will pay first, last, and security deposit, and you will be the legal leasee of that property for the months while you are waiting. Everybody has to go through this. This is the way it is done. The landlord has zero incentive to not receive rent when it is no longer their property. They can't rent it to anyone else. There's no reason for them to have it sit vacant. And if you're not willing to do that, in many cases, then somebody else, could rent it that is willing to do that. So you really need to plan those 3 months as moving expenses. That is how all of us have done it. That's how it is done, that you will have that. Also, you will need to plan for your utilities to be shifted into your name during that period of time so that it is out of the landlord's name and into your name. We go through a property wish list. You fill out a detailed wish list of what you need to have, and then our team reviews that with you, speaks with you, and then when they go out live, they go through the property. You can either walk through it live with them, or you can actually have the video recordings, review them, and then give them feedback. So yes, we work very closely with what it is that you're looking for. So Heather's asking, can you outline the general health insurance requirements timeline by visa application appointment through IMA appointment? Yes. So the first health insurance that you need is what we refer to as the visa gap insurance. This is an insurance that is required within your VFS, your first appointment in the United States. This is the one that you include, and this is coverage for the period of time they anticipate that you will not be on the health system yet in Portugal. So usually it's 6 months. Some people are now taking it out for a year, but the minimum is 6 months. And this is a policy that will cover your health needs in case of an emergency. And it has a specific rider that says that if you were to pass away while you were in Portugal, your remains would be returned to the United States. And it has a COVID rider that is still required. So this is a specific policy that we can help you get. There's lots of companies out there that do it. And it has a letter. It's a visa letter that goes into your packet. Then when you move to Portugal and you have, at this point, you have a residency because you would have either purchased a property or you would have rented a property, you're able to apply for private health insurance, and you'll need proof of that health insurance for your IMA appointment. So at that point, when you are in Portugal, you can apply for private health insurance, and that can be activated immediately, though most of them have some waiting periods for certain things like pre-existing conditions. They'll cover it, but they may have a waiting period for that particular treatment. So the very first one you need to get is the gap insurance, and then when you move to Portugal, you can get your private health insurance. All right, so my husband and myself have received our nephew and niece last year, and now we want to move to Portugal with our 2 children for their further education and good quality of life for kids. So that's great. You're on the first step for moving to Portugal. The next step that you're going to need to do is decide which visa that best fits your family's needs, either a D7 for the passive income or the D8. The steps that you're going to need to take there is preparing for the visa appointment, which will mean you'll need a Portuguese bank account. Portuguese bank accounts right now, to open them remotely, we open for our clients. It's one of the things we've got an arrangement with Novo Banco, and we open remote bank accounts. Right now, Novo Banco is one of the only banks that are doing it remotely. So it is a little bit of a trickier process than it was about a year ago. After that, you're going to need to have your background checks. You're going to have a lot of paperwork, proof of income, different birth certificates for the children, marriage certificate for your spouse. And then you will go and apply. You'll make an appointment at the VFS or consulate in your area, and then you will apply at that point. The last piece of the puzzle that you'll need for that is some form of accommodation, either the lease, as I mentioned earlier. You must have a registered active lease that's 12-month minimum that you will expect to have as living expenses or moving expenses while you're waiting for approval, or you can purchase a property and have the promissory contract that shows that you're in the process of purchasing a home as proof of accommodation. All right, so it says we will be there on holiday in November. Can we set up an appointment with a rep from your organization? We're looking to transition to Portugal. Absolutely. You can do it beforehand if you'd like. We do free consultation calls. You can schedule a Zoom, and then we can talk about what you're looking for. And then if you're in the Silver Coast and you want to come see our offices, our headquarters are here in Alcobaça, and we love to see people. So you'd be more than welcome. Hey, Robbie, how do you get rid of the you kill me, Robbie. The gnats, fruit flies that are driving me out of my mind. Well, that's the kind of the downside of all the fantastic fresh fruit and produce not having all kinds of preservatives because the fruit flies love them. Couple of things that I have found that are like local help. One thing that seems to really work is if you put rosemary plants or lavender plants around where you have your fruit or entrance to windows and doors. They don't like it. They don't like the scent. So that does make a difference. And then another thing that the locals do, I don't know if you've tried it, is they put the bag with the water that's supposed to kind of scare them away. I haven't tried that, but it's like the Ziploc that they put in the doorway. Something about the reflection or something is supposed to keep them away. But mostly I just try not to have more produce than I'm going to eat in that next day or two, or else they just like come after it. Margaret, I'm very excited to adapt to the Portuguese lifestyle. With that said, do you have a favorite big box online site for ordering household goods and favorite items? So we have a list of places that work really well. There's Amazon Spain, which delivers easily to Portugal. There's a company called Wharton's, which is very well stocked with a variety of household goods. And then we like to work with Radio Popular. Radio Popular is very dependable. They do a lot of electronics and household items as well. And then there's a variety. For furniture, a Portuguese company that rivals IKEA is called JOM, Jom, and they're also fantastic. Some of these, when you log into them from the US, you'll have to kind of switch to saying, I want to look at it from the Portuguese point of view. But these are all really dependable services that deliver. But we have a whole list on our website. If you go to portugaltheplace.com and go to resources, we have shopping links at the bottom of the resources page with just lots and lots of verified shopping sources that work. Jennifer, how do we contact to set one-on-one appointment? So you can go to portugaltheplace.com and it says schedule a consultation right there. So you're able to go right into the site. The calendar pops up and you can schedule a call with the team, and we'd be happy to and really love to have a chance to chat with you one-on-one. All right. And want to move with kids or for further education, what is the procedure? So the procedure is the same as what we had discussed earlier. You have to start with the visa process, whether your children are coming as minors or if they're coming as young adults. You have to go through the visa process. If they are not dependents anymore, if they're over 18, then they would have to be coming on a student visa, which is a possibility as well. So they would go, it all starts with the visa. Wendy is asking for weather. Oh, perfect. Try weatherspark.com. It's great for comparing places. I agree completely. And Diane is asking, best way to move my skittish cat. Well, with cats, the best thing, the fantastic thing is you can bring them on the plane with you. What I recommend for folks is to try to get to the shortest flight. So if you can drive or do something else to get to like Newark, for example, or one of the East Coast destinations that do a nonstop to Lisbon that's only about 6 hours or so, bringing them in cabin with you and having them right there can be the calmest way. The hardest thing is when you have to put them on connecting flights with all the layovers. But if you can get to the shortest flight over, usually even the most skittish cat does really well with about a 6-hour flight. So Tracy's asking, I have T minus 28 days with the help of PTP to arrive with my daughter. I have pictures, paintings of no value other than to me I want to bring. Can I just put them in a box and ship them via UPS or the likes prior to my arrival? So Tracy, I wouldn't suggest doing the UPS or DHL because they're going to charge you for that. You're going to have to fill out all kinds of forms and prove that they're your items, and they could charge you tax. The least expensive way, you can package them up and you can check them as an extra bag when you fly. You can actually bring them to the airport with you. You can have them all packaged and you can put them through as an extra baggage. And most folks are finding that that's less expensive than what the carriers are charging to do it for you. And then they're with you and they arrive when you get to the other side. So I would explore that, but if you go through like DHL, UPS, you have to declare at customs, and then you could get tangled up with getting charged for items you already own. And you will be, let's see, V. Thomas, we will be there for a week plus in November this year. Can we set up an appointment with a representative from your organization? We are a little confused on the order this all must be done. Absolutely. And what I would encourage you to do is go and set up a call with us at portugaltheplace.com and schedule a consultation. It's completely complimentary. And then we can sit down after you've kind of gone over the first steps. When you get here in November, we can sit down and have a meeting. You can meet with the team and with us face to face here in Alcobaça. So we'd love to see you and we'd be happy to do that. How much is required for a Portuguese bank account? The minimum requirement for the visa for one person is equivalent to 1 year's worth of Portuguese salary, which the minimum wage is 883 euros per month. So if you just kind of round it off to, it's about 11,500, but like 12,000 euros, that's like your minimum. But remember, your lease amount and your utilities and things like that will need to come out of this account while you're waiting. So we recommend, if you can do it, to put more than the minimum in the Portuguese bank account to show your viability for your visa application. Then if you have a spouse, it's 1.5 times. So it's the first person pays the full amount and the spouse pays 50%. So you have to have equivalent to 1.5 in the bank account. And then depending on how many children you have or dependents, it's 30% in addition for each dependent. So the math changes depending on the size of your family, but for one person minimum, you can expect 12,000 euros. And Rosita is asking if there's an average price to purchase a 2-bedroom house. Oh, Rosita, that is a heavy duty question. Oh my gosh, because there are so many different price points across Portugal. An average 2-bedroom house on the Silver Coast can be somewhere around 200,000 to 300,000, depending on the land, the amenities, the location. An average 2-bedroom house in the Algarve can be 15 to 20% more than that. If you're in Lisbon or Porto, you will have completely different cost comparisons. So the location really dictates what you're looking at for the price point, but an average 2-bedroom house with 1 bath or even 2 bath can range anywhere from around a standalone house from around 200,000 upwards of 6, 7 or more, depending on where you're looking. So Rosita, fruit flies, put cider vinegar plus a little dish soap and sugar in a bowl, cover with plastic wrap and poke some holes in the wrap with a toothpick. They'll get trapped in the bowl. That is a great tip. I've heard that one as well. That is perfect. Give that a try, Robbie. I think I tried that as well and it worked too. So that's a great suggestion. So V. Thomas, like Spain, do we have to have a certain amount in a Portuguese bank to show proof of income or just have a Portuguese bank account and show proof of income? So in Portugal, there are 2 proofs that you have to have. You have to have the minimum amount in a Portuguese bank account. For one person, that's 12,000 euros must be in the bank account in Portugal. In addition to that, you will need to show that you have a minimum monthly income for the passive income visa. That's 883 euros per month for one person. If it's a D8 visa, if it's a digital nomad, you will need to have 3,200 euros per month that you show proof of income. So you need 2 different things. You need the proof in the bank account, which is funded. So you need 12,000 euros minimum in the bank account. And you need proof of your income source, either passive or with your work contract for a D8. Do you think it's necessary to have an immigration attorney, or do you think one can immigrate without one? A lot of people immigrate without one. It is not necessary. But if you have what I believe if we often refer to as the gray area, if your income source doesn't fall into the traditional requirements, if you're concerned about a relationship, showing that it's the correct relationship to benefit from, a spouse relationship or a child, something like that. If you have issues with your background check, if you're concerned about qualifying for any reason, then an immigration attorney is a great investment. But if you hit all the marks and you know that you qualify based on the checklist and you can check all of them without any question, then you can easily DIY the visa. Hey, Lisa, do you have any updates with respect to IMA canceling and rescheduling appointments? they seem to have slowed down canceling the appointments, and we are getting more clients that are getting emails that are saying that they've been rescheduled. So it seems they've turned the corner on the mass canceling. We're not hearing that, but we are starting to hear that people are getting emails to get rescheduled. So that's a positive turn. And what are the best pathways to open a bank account while still in the United States, and or is it possible? That way we can start transferring funds until we have enough to move. So when you work with Portugal The Place, we've created an agreement with Novo Banco that allows us to open for our clients the bank account as part of our relocation package. Novo Banco is the only bank that is doing remote bank account openings right now, and they work with us and with our clients. If you are not in Portugal and you're not working with us, it does feel a little overwhelming. You'll have to reach out to different Novo Bancos to see if one of the branches will do it for you. Some are, some aren't. It's not a perfect process across the board. You can come to Portugal and you can try to open a bank account in person in Portugal, but you do need some kind of proof of intention of living in Portugal. So you will have to have a NIF for sure. There's other documentation that you will need to do it in person, but remotely, that's one of the reasons we've worked so hard to build this relationship with Novo Banco so that we can get people through this process, because it can feel a little overwhelming. Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. So wow, you guys, we are just like moving through these questions. I think we can take a couple more questions. If anyone has anything else that feels like it's in another topic or something we haven't gotten to, we are absolutely there. So Susan, if you're not purchasing a home, is it necessary to have a financial rep to get your NIF? Yes. So the reason you need a financial representative to get your NIF is because this portal, this NIF portal, everything that is sent to you from the tax authority can only be sent to a Portuguese address. And so you have to have a fiscal representative, because until you live here in person, they will send you documents. If you have something that comes up, if they have a question, those documents have to go to a Portuguese address. So everybody will have a fiscal representative until you register your address in Portugal, and then you can just let them go. You just change your address and you don't need one any longer. So Margaret's asking, does Portugal The Place offer a la carte services? No, we don't. And here's the reason why. We used to try, and then people would buy one or two services and then ask us for the services they didn't want to purchase. And then we felt terrible having to say, I'm sorry, you didn't buy it. We can't do it. That's not our style. Our style is to be with you from the beginning and to be with you through the whole entire process, because things change, things come up. And so we're very proud of the fact that our services, you don't have to ask if it's included. We just help you through the process, whether it's relocation questions about your pet or getting your rental, purchasing a house, helping you buy a car, all of those things we help within the packages that we offer. All right, you're welcome. Let's see, is there any other questions? Anything else? We have maybe time for one or two more. One thing I do want to let everyone know is we will be making announcements and sharing updates when the laws have been passed to do with any immigration reform. Right now, the reason we haven't had any real recent updates is it's still all up in the air. So as soon as we are positive that something has changed and it's official, we will be putting that out on all of our social sites. So please make sure to keep up with us and to kind of keep it in mind. I also see that Carla here is asking, what are your thoughts on Ilavo and purchasing a property? We love Aveiro. Aveiro is a great area. It's wonderful. Ilavo is a little bit more agricultural. It's a little less active. It doesn't have some of the same vibe. That's why the prices are less down in that area, though they are going up as people have explored it. One of the areas I really think people overlook often is the other direction is Ovar. When you go north of Aveiro, Ovar has a really fantastic city center. It doesn't feel as touristy as Aveiro, and it has an amazing beach. So Ovar is a city that often gets overlooked up in that northern area. Let's see. And Wendy is asking a question. She says she's a bit worried about having her mom with limited mobility get appointments. How are the medical facilities there for that? It's actually amazing. They do a great job. So the public hospitals have a lot of different accessibilities. And one of the things, if your mom has physical limitations for getting places, you can schedule a pickup and an ambulance service that's non-emergency at no cost. It's one of the most amazing things about being here in Portugal is what comes with the national healthcare system. And for elderly or for those that have limited mobility, they will schedule and help you get to your doctor's appointments. And that's something that we can help you navigate as well once you get here. The first couple times it feels weird and then you just get used to it. So that's something that they do as part of the national health system. All right. And you need to prove reoccurring income, or is savings or paying upfront enough? You must prove for the visas, you must have reoccurring income. It can be dividends for the passive. It can be interest off of investments. It can be rental. It could be Social Security, a pension, but you must have a monthly form of verifiable income. It cannot just be savings. All right, let's see. And how long does it take for the bank account to open? I worked with e-residents and they say they're just waiting on the bank to follow up, but it's been 2.5 months. That's a long time. We are seeing some of the banks taking a really long time now because the compliance documents are getting more and more complicated. It also depends on where you're from. The United States has a huge requirement of reporting. The banks have to report all of our income, all of our deposits back to the United States. That's why a lot of the banks will not open accounts for US residents because it's so labor intensive. And then what happens is people open a bank account. They did this a lot during COVID. They thought they'd move to Portugal, they'd open a bank account and never use it. And then it cost the banks a ton of time and effort, and it ended up costing them more than it was worth opening the accounts. So there's a lot of compliance in the background that's happening to make sure that people are real humans that are opening it. If you come from a country like Israel, for example, right now, there's an additional layers of compliance. The Ukraine is creating more layers of compliance. There's a lot of different things happening that are affecting the speed. And we've noticed that it went from a couple weeks for us to, we're seeing ours turn around in about a month, but it's definitely longer than it was. What's the cost range for private health insurance for a healthy couple over the age of 50? I've gotten quotes and read articles that quotes 150 a month, but that seems to be too good to be true. Well, that's right in line with what we've seen. And for example, what I pay, and I'm in that over 50 group. So, it depends on the insurance, of course, and the coverage you choose, but between 150 and 300 is very common and very reasonable, just depending on which one you choose. All right. And I think we have which visa would be best to travel with kids under 18 years? There isn't a visa that's best for kids. It depends on your income stream. So you either need a D7, which is passive income, or you need a D8, which is verifiable work income. So one or the other would be depending on what your income source is. All right. And being part of the LGBTQIA community, is Portugal gay friendly, and it's my marriage legal in Portugal? Yes, yes. It's one of the things that I'm most proud about being here in Portugal and what we're able to do at Portugal The Place. We are so committed to helping people from all backgrounds and people from all over be here and be comfortable. And it is absolutely a place of safety and peace, and your marriage is absolutely legal. It's not perfect, no place in the world is, but from a perspective of being kind of live and let live and welcoming, it's such a joy, and we love seeing the community that we've built here settle in and be really, really happy. So I'd love to talk to you as well and dive into that some more. We have some great areas we can recommend and some fantastic communities here in Portugal that you can connect with. All right, so this is the last question. I have a phone question. We've been having a hard time, impossible, receiving SMS messages from Portugal. Do you have any suggestions for a workaround while still here in the US? No, it's impossible almost to get the SMS messages because you're moving off of carriers, and because they're usually two-factor verification, it's an immediate red flag. So either you need to set up your two-factor verification if possible as email, or if you're trying to verify cards from the bank and things like that, you'll have to do that when you get to Portugal. The good news is your debit cards for Portuguese bank accounts, they don't use those to pay for things online. You use an IBAN, and that's a different process that doesn't usually require the same verification, especially if you're on your desktop, if you're on a computer. But yes, that is a security issue that has to do with moving between carriers. And the workaround is really trying to make sure you're not doing anything that isn't absolutely necessary before you're physically in Portugal. And for those of you that are moving, it works in reverse too. The SMS from the US doesn't come through when you're on the Portuguese, when you're over on the Portuguese carriers. So before you move, change as many of your two-factor verifications to email or a authentication app, because if you need to get into your health system records, school records, banking in the US when you're here in Portugal, you won't be able to get those SMS texts. So make sure to switch as much of that two-factor identification as you can. All right. Hey, thank you, Margaret. We're so excited to be able to share these. I'm doing another one tomorrow night. This is crazy. This week we've had 3. And we're more than happy to have all of you if you want to come back. If you didn't have your question answered, tomorrow we're going to be focusing on currency and how to work your budget and how to deal with the ever fluctuating and changing US dollar. So we're going to have Sarah from Spartan FX. She's also living in Portugal, talking about lifestyle, currency, budgets, what to prepare for, and any other questions that may come up. So we would love to have you tomorrow. And when you sign up tomorrow, there'll also be a guide that will be, if you register, that will be sent out to everyone on budgeting and working with your money in Portugal. So thank you so much. This has been fantastic. Love, love, love the questions. Please schedule that consultation. We really enjoy talking with everyone. And if you need anything, we're here, reach out. And then tomorrow, what time is 6 p.m., same time tomorrow night. So we'd love to have you. Thank you so much. And we'll see you again soon. Take care, everyone. Bye now.